So we got the spoilers for chapter 54 and 55. Yep, we're getting 2 chapters this month, and we're getting some big developments in them, such as the reveal of the next match and a new entry into the tournament. Let's get into it. Chapter 54, Substitute. The arena is filled with calls for Buddha. Buddha stares forlornly at the Misery Cleaver's handle when a little bird lands on it and starts to cry. So in the previous chapter, Buddha finally had defeated Hajun. That released like Zero's soul, I guess, and he ascended to like super heaven or wherever the gods go when they die, and like the rest of his personalities went with him. And that brings us to where we are now. Brunhild and Gold run up to Buddha after he leaves, and he collapses. As he's being carried away by the attendants, he says he wants a cola-flavored Buddha cup, making Brune laugh. Buddha then asks Brune if she thinks her plan will be realized, to which she responds that she's one step closer to humanity's salvation. Buddha replies, "There you go again, all uptight," and repeats the bit from chapter 44 about liking Brune's eyes filled with worldly desire, before coughing up blood and getting carried to the sickbay. Beelzebub is throwing all the data he had collected on Hajun into a fire when Odin approaches him and says, "I knew this was your doing." So in the previous couple chapters, it was revealed that Beelzebub had like abducted Zero at some point and implanted that Hajun parasite into him, which led to Hajun manifesting mid-fight against Buddha. And Odin is discovering that he was the one who did it here. Beel ignores him, but Hugin and Munin taunt him. Those are the ravens. Calling him a creep, Odin prepares to speak, silencing the ravens, and says, "I will not spare anyone who disrupts this fight, my long-held desire." His aura is enough to send Beel's documents flying, and Beel finally looks at Odin and says, "Intriguing." So yeah, Odin is powerful. We assume this much. He's powerful in like all of the lores he's a part of. Hermes, Ares, and Shiva discuss the results of round 6. Hermes remarks that if humanity wins again, the odds will be in their favor. Shiva says that they need to win by any means possible, and Hermes asks about who will fill Buddha's slot. Ares replies that it can't be any half-hearted god, and Hermes sneakily eyes him. Ares realizes Hermes' intent and has an intense back and forth in his head, lasting all of a quarter of a second, ultimately making up his mind to fight for the god. So this is what I think a lot of us have been wondering about coming into this, like who was going to fill a vacant spot for the gods. Since Buddha decided to represent humanity and he took out Zero, aka Hajun, therefore there's a discrepancy in the teams now. Ares tries to raise his hand and say he'll go, but before he can finish, Hades interrupts him and says, "I shall go." All right, this is amazing. I actually theorized about this in my first chapter review for this series. I expected that this would happen maybe a little later than this, but pretty cool that it's being revealed now. Ares, Hermes, and Shiva are all shocked, and Shiva asks what's got into him. Hades gets up and says Shiva's question is foolish and takes off his eye patch, crushing it in his hand. So under the eye patch is kind of normal for the most part, but he has like a different pupil. He has like some kind of like Sharingan type thing going on, so I'm sure that's going to be one of his abilities. But for some reason I expected it to be like gross under there, but it's not. This is revenge for Poseidon. So yeah, I think that's what we expected his motivation to be coming into this, and it looks like that's where the chapter ends. But like I said, double release this month, so we're gonna go right into chapter 55. It's called Taboo. Brune heads back to her chambers with Gol with an intense look on her face. Brune thinks about how now is humanity's chance to take the lead on the gods, making her eyes more intense. However, when they arrive, they see another Brune standing there, puzzling Gol. Brune calls out Nostradamus' name while popping a vessel, asking what he's doing with her clothes. Nostra takes off his disguise while Gol stares at him fixedly, calling him the prophet of the century. So yeah, this is the Nostradamus reveal here, and you might be confused because like, wait, he's wearing a Brune disguise? Like, how is that working? Does he have some kind of shape-shifting abilities? No. Turns out that Nostradamus is like a magical boy. Definitely not what I think 99% of us expected him to look like, because, you know, in our reality, he looked like this. But no, much different here. and it's fine. Curveballs are always nice, especially when they're well done, and I think this is one of those cases. I'm not mad at Nostradamus looking like this. It's kind of interesting. Nostra clears his throat and says, "Allow me to prophesize. The winners of Ragnarok will be the gods." Gol and Brune both buy it, which Nostra loses his cool over and teases them for. Gol gets angry at him and complains about him to Brune. Brune calls him the most unpleasant man in history, and adds that, unfortunately, he's also insanely strong. Gol doubts this, but Brune confirms it, though she also says that if he goes too far with his pranks, she'll send him back to Helheim. So that's a big reveal. Nostradamus is coming from Helheim, which is going to be explained. Nostra complains, saying the beasts of Helheim did horrible things to him, but Brune calls him out and replies that he could have killed the guards whenever he felt like it and gone back out of there. Nostra nonchalantly replies, "I guess." So yeah, it turns out he's pretty powerful, and he's going to be hyped even more than this. Gol wonders why a human was in Helheim, as did the audience, and Brune begins her info dump. Nostradamus was the only person who broke the gods' taboo and was thrown into Helheim for it. His crime, destroying the Bifrost, the gate of rainbow and darkness that connects Valhalla and Helheim. I'm sure you're familiar with the Bifrost from the MCU. A little different in this world, but pretty much the same thing. Nostra says he was just wondering what had happened if he broke it, thoroughly spooking Gol. So he's so powerful that apparently he can break the Bifrost, which I guess is a considerable feat in this verse. So how did he break it? I don't think it's being revealed here how he did. So I guess we're not going to know what he's capable of until he fights, which is cool because, you know, I like when, you know, things get hyped up and we have something to look forward to that we know is going to happen. Brune then asks again what Nostra wants, to which he replies that he was wondering if it was his turn yet. Brune says his turn will come much later since he is their Joker. Just then Brune gets a notification on her device saying that Hades is next. Brune kicks out Gol and Nostra and picks the ruler who began everything, reasoning that it should be a ruler for a ruler. Okay, so it's not going to be Hades versus Nostradamus. I was kind of getting hyped up for that, but considering he's their Joker, this might be setting him up as maybe the last person to fight for humanity. And that's fine because, like I said, I like when there's hype and things for us to look forward to, because I think that's something that would strengthen this series. Because the things that we look forward to in this series are simply just the match reveals and the characters in the match being revealed too. So aside from that, we don't really have like long-term things to look forward to other than just the conclusion of the tournament. So us knowing future matchups, I think would really help things. Like if we knew what the last match or the penultimate match would be, because that's what I think Nostradamus's involvement is going to be here. He's going to be penultimate or just the last fight. Meanwhile, a human stumbles into Ares and Hermes' VIP section, mistaking it for his waiting room. The two gods don't notice him at first and keep talking. Just then, the human plops down on Hades' seat. Ares tries to get the human out of the VIP room, but the moment he tries touching him, he feels light and topples face first. Hermes tries to get closer to him, but he turns to him and says, "Humble yourself." This human is Quinchi Huang. I'm sure I butchered that name and I'm sorry. The first emperor of China and the one chosen to fight in round 7. He then resumes his seat, saying, "Wherever I am, that is my throne." All right, so this is pretty cool, and I think it's hilarious that Ares is yet again jobbing to another character. So it looks like the next fight is going to be Quinchi Huang versus Hades, and Huang here already like pretty much instantly establishing his level of power, which is implied to be, you know, stronger than Ares. So he's already surpassed that level. Like he's already at least on the level of like where Heracles was. But Hades, on the other hand, is, at least in my opinion, implied to be at the very top of the power level. Like just as strong as Zeus, maybe even stronger than him. And considering that humanity just won, I'm assuming that Hades is almost guaranteed to win this one. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about these spoilers in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.